Hello, fellow lovers and movie lovers alike. I'm Hailey.
And I'm Javi.
And you're listening to the Just Be Poly podcast, where we discuss movies and in the end answer the question,
could these problems be solved with polyamory?
Let's find out.
Hey, Hailey.
Hey, Javi.
Your hair looks really good.
Thank you. You look okay. Yeah.
Okay. Today we're talking about Love Actually.
This film was Javi's choice. Javi, why did you pick this film?
I've been wanting to watch this movie since I was a preteen, since I watched it the first time, because I can't remember anything other than Rick from Walking Dead doing the famous card scene and the people being naked and touching each other very awkwardly.
Oh, yeah, that was funny.
Yeah. So I wanted to remember what was that all about? Wanted to see what my foggy preteen memory, what was going on in there.
Did it hold up for you?
Yeah, it did. I still like this film, actually. It was a little long, but we'll get into that.
The movie was long?
It was 2 hours and 15 minutes.
And what, 15?
15.
It's a smidge long. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm okay. I mean, I've seen Lord of the Rings director's cuts. You know, it's not like the longest. It's not The Godfather, but it's a rom-com, you know.
You're right. I really appreciate the metaphor, or maybe not metaphor, but the observation of the narrator. I'm actually not sure who the narrator is.
The Prime Minister. The
Prime Minister?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he's one of my favorite characters. I think his name's David in the film.
I'm about to check.
You got your map right there. We have maps to help us keep track of who we're discussing so we don't confuse anybody.
Yeah, it's David.
David, yeah. And on my map, his name is just Prime Minister, and that made me think that he was actually not named in the movie. And I was like, this movie is like got so many details. Like, they didn't give him a name, but sometimes you just don't get names. Like in the last movie we did, Over Her Dead Body, and the sculptor did not have a name. He was the sculptor. So I thought I caught them, but on your map it says David.
The only person, they all have names. I think the only person that doesn't have a name is Colin's friend, he's the British guy who wants to go to America.
His name's Tony.
Tony.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So they all have names.
Yeah.
Hey, good for them.
Yeah, they're fleshed out. So what this movie meant for me, I actually thought I hadn't seen it, and I had. I realized maybe like 2 minutes in, I was like, oh yeah, and I wasn't that excited to see it last episode. So I was just wondering why it didn't stick for me. And I think my theory is because maybe the age, I think it's like 20 years old now.
Yeah, it was in 2003.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So 20 years on the dot this year. So all these actors are iconic actors, but they weren't relevant maybe enough for me and my personal experiences in life and the time that the actors in similarly styled like the film like Valentine's Day with actors like Ashton Kutcher, Taylor Lautner, George Lopez, you know, those are all people that I grew up with. And I was like, oh my God, like every single time I saw one of them on screen, it was like a dopamine hit. And it's kind of like that with Love Actually, where you see all these people, but I think maybe that film would have hit harder for people 20 years ago when it just came out and all those actors were, not that they're irrelevant, they're just not like at the top of, you know, they're like the top of the household names, I guess. Like that's just what I think about maybe what it didn't stick. This film is definitely a happy, feel good, fun movie. I think it has something for everyone. It's great for the holidays. I don't think it'll be on my holiday watch list though, but it definitely is great for, you know, Christmas time. The way everyone ties together is too complex for me to follow in one watch. I remember the first time I watched it with, you know, not first time because I realized I had actually seen it before. So I'm referring to the time Javi and I watched it together for the podcast. I did not know anybody's name. Mm-hmm. I just knew their stories, you know, and I really like that stuck with me, but I did not know their names. So I actually had to watch this movie approximately 4 times to review for this film. This podcast, so that I didn't screw up anybody's name when I talked about them and I know who I was talking about.
I'm glad it's on Netflix. You don't have to keep renting it or anything.
Mm-hmm. Praise be to Netflix.
Yeah.
Can you tell us what Love Actually is about, Javi?
Actually, I'd love to. So, Love Actually follows seemingly unrelated people as their lives begin to intertwine while they fall in and out of love. Affections languish and develop as Christmas draws near.
That's a pretty short description for such a lengthy and complex movie.
If they tried to describe every single storyline,
I guess so.
You know,
they said this movie can't be summarized. This film feels really wholesome and spiritual. I really love the budding romances in this movie. Like kind of how we talked about with Over Her Dead Body. I really appreciate when film focuses on like the awkward characteristics of a new connection, or the way people stumble over their words or kind of have like word vomit and stuff like that. So that for me is very relatable, and I can really tap into that NRE for them, that feeling of excitement when you're around somebody who makes your hands sweat and all that stupid stuff that happens in your body. I had pure dopamine from, I didn't know what to call it, that scene with the wedding. I called it a flash mob, but I'm not necessarily sure. Is that exactly a flash mob? Because when I think flash mob, I think dancing.
It was a music flash mob.
Yeah, it was a music flash mob. And that was kind of what I was like calling it in my head, but I didn't actually know what to call it. That surprise, oh my God, I love surprises so much. And if someone went out of their way to get the whole orchestra, oh my, and like out of nowhere, that was beautiful. So my dopamine receptors were firing at that scene. I really resonate with Colin's character. I don't think you were expecting me to say that. That's the gentleman who goes to America in pursuit of romance, we'll say, to be polite. I also thought with my cute American accent that I could go places and meet a bunch of cute, I was thinking Englishmen, but now it's not my type anymore. Javi and I had a disagreement listening to the DJ at the wedding between Juliet and Peter. Juliet is the woman, she's played by Keira Knightley, so you can kind of get a visual for who that is in the story. The DJ is remarked as the worst DJ in history, and Javi believes that the DJ was right in playing Puppy Love by Paul Anka. Absolutely. So I'm noting this because one of my notes during the film remarked on a cool transition I liked, where the song Bye Bye Baby Goodbye by Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons was played at the funeral. And then right before the DJ was remarked as the worst DJ in history, the song transitioned from that funeral song to a song being played at the wedding. So what they were saying was that this DJ is so bad that the music that he's playing could and has been played at a funeral. And then Javi says, no, this DJ is fire. He played Puppy Love.
Wow, that's amazing. That was your favorite transition?
Yeah, actually.
Hailey, that was also my favorite transition.
Oh, really?
For the
so
visual
you did
aspect.
Notice.
That's so funny. That's your favorite transition because of the audio aspect. That
and
was
yours
my
was
favorite.
For the visual?
Yeah.
Why?
Because Liam Neeson, he's at the wake for his dead wife, and he's carrying her casket on his shoulder, and then a hard cut to Peter and Juliet dancing after they walk down the aisle, and her head is on his shoulder.
Oh.
Wow.
Whoa.
What an amazing juxtaposition.
Here you go with juxtaposition
audio, visual.
again.
Hey, look, technically, English is not my first language, all right? So sometimes words still catch me, all right? Juxtaposition. All right.
That is very interesting, actually.
This film does get deep. It's not just like a regular Hallmark rom-com. It's one of the best rom-coms ever for a reason.
Best rom-com ever?
I say one of.
Okay.
Not the best.
I'll take it.
The best rom-com of all time. Say it with me, everybody. 3, 2, 1. Shrek. Okay.
Oh, no, I didn't know the answer, and I wouldn't have said Shrek.
Okay.
Not that it's not the best rom-com.
No, I get it.
Okay. So, Mark, who is played by Andrew Lincoln.
Of Walking Dead fame. Rick?
Yes. He's more notoriously known as Rick from The Walking Dead. I was wondering, how did he go from this to The Walking Dead? Obviously, they're so stark in contrast, I'm just kind of like, how does one go from like a rom-com movie to a horror TV show. So I was just kind of curious about him as an actor. So Andrew Lincoln started in drama school, and he called it amateur dramatics. In his beautiful British accent, he got an agent who told him that this is kind of a fun fact, to change his name. His name was Andrew Clutterbuck, and his agent told him that he sounded like a hobbit.
I'm so sorry for laughing at that, man.
Yeah, so he changed his name to Andrew Lincoln. So he started in 1994 on an episode. It's specifically season 4, episode 4 of Births and Deaths. And the episode's called Drop the Dead Donkey. I think it's a comedy. He did mostly TV with a few movies sprinkled in and some short films until this hit film Love Actually in 2003. And also fun fact, The Walking Dead aired October 31st, 2010 to November 20th, 2022 and has 177 episodes.
Wow.
Yeah. This film, Love Actually, reminds me of What a Girl Wants with Amanda Bynes. You know what I'm talking about?
I don't know that one.
Oh, it's so cute. It's also set in Britain, and it has a character that's in Love Actually and obviously What a Girl Wants, the star Colin Firth. He plays the dad in What a Girl Wants, and he plays the cuckolded man in Love Actually, Jamie Bennett. So yeah, and What a Girl Wants, that's a movie starring Amanda Bynes. That's also a rom-com, and she goes to England to meet her lost father, basically. And he doesn't know that she is his daughter, and comedy ensues. It's really cute and lighthearted. I actually probably like that movie a lot more than Love Actually, I'll be straight.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's worth everyone's time, in my opinion. And so is the love interest. He's so cute. And Javi kind of looks like him, honestly. So Alan Rickman, more famously known as Professor Severus Snape in Harry Potter, plays a cheeky little devil in this film, Harry, who has an affair, kind of like, not really, but...
It's the beginnings of an affair.
Yeah, you're right. It's the beginnings of an affair, but it's not entirely an affair at all throughout the film, really. With his new secretary, Mia. Mia is so thirsty.
Yeah.
Yeah. She gives this man eyes like crazy. And it's absolutely wildly unprofessional. There's one point where she's just like looking him dead in the eyes, and she just like spreads her legs in front of him. And it's not classy. It's trashy. It's not
very
cute.
Non-apologetically flirting.
Not even flirting. Man. It's like she's trying to
trying to seduce him.
Like seduce him in the office. It's very much like, if you could take off your pants right now, do it.
Trying to seduce this married man. And
he just gets all flustered. He doesn't know what to think, what to say. He's in it, but he's cautious, maybe. Rightfully so.
He knows he shouldn't.
Yeah. And I think he's very aware of what she's doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, the reason I brought this up was because I'm aware that, Alan Rickman has recently passed away in January 2016. I looked a little bit more into it. It was from terminal cancer, and he actually just passed a month short of his 70th birthday.
Yeah. One of the greatest actors on screen I've ever seen.
Yeah, I love his voice.
Yeah, he's got an amazing voice, and he's got a great ability to use subtlety to his advantage.
Yeah.
Because amateur actors will go on a screen or go on a stage and try to be subtle, but then when you see a recording of yourself, they'll figure out, oh, it's just a dead face. Like, you're not seeing what I'm seeing. So to actually act subtly takes a lot of technicality and preciseness and exactly knowing what your movements and how you're being perceived.
I'll take that into account when I observe actors, because I don't know, it seems easy, but it definitely is harder than it looks, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I like to think that all actors should pay attention to body language, and I think that he's actually really good at that. When you were talking about that, I was thinking about the way that he acted, just kind of like a little flustered when she would say stuff like that. He'd be like, right. And then like, just kind of like left, right. Okay, in the office.
He probably has the most entertaining monotone voice in history.
Yeah. It's kind of sexy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, honestly, anybody I think would date him just for his voice. Sing me to sleep.
I would love to have an autobiography narrated by his voice.
That would be great. That'd be great.
We can AI generate it now.
That's what I was actually thinking. You totally took the words out of my mind.
If we can get Plankton to sing "All I Want for Christmas Is You," let's go.
Oh God, that was so funny. Okay, so circling back, for me, when I think for anybody, for when a person watches a film with an actor who has passed away, especially during their own lifetime, regardless out of like the personal connection to the actor or their work, it does show up, I think, more than like watching somebody from the past to like Marilyn Monroe or something. Like you might still get moved and touched and inspired by that, but it doesn't show up for you by someone like who was alive and now is dead, and you experienced their life and then their death as well. So a thought that I had actually during this film was I heard, I'm not sure if it was like on a tour or something, but there's apparently a certain group of people who believe that a soul can be captured or stolen through photography and I guess therefore cinema. So I just kind of, when I was watching the film, watching this actor who I know has passed away, I was wondering, about that concept and how it relates and stuff like that. And if like, it's just, so I looked into it a little bit. I had tea with a good friend and she was talking about how she thinks, when I brought up this concept to her earlier, because I was excited to talk about it, was that when a person is captured, their voice, their likeness, that energy emanates from the person and infuses, wherever it's being perceived. And I was like, that's interesting. I could see that too. And this concept, it doesn't necessarily, it didn't make sense to me, before I started researching, but I thought it was really interesting. And I try not to spit at most beliefs, like I just, it's kind of like just looking at religion as a whole and being like, well, it's true or it isn't, and I don't know, but I'll take what I get from it, and then that works for me. So I kind of looked at it like that, like, well, yeah, I don't know, maybe, but I don't really see that, but maybe, so that's kind of how I went into it. So I'm excited to talk to you about some of the fun stuff I found online about it. Okay, so allow me to share a few excerpts from this article I found. Okay, so research held by the University of Arakab has shown that the old belief of cameras stealing souls may not be entirely false. The head of paranormal sciences, Dr. I can't pronounce his name because it is too long, is quoted
I know that guy.
He's quoted as saying, the fact that the human mind and soul connect to create an aura has been established for generations. Fun fact, there are actually businesses out there currently serving people who would like their aura photographed. Have you seen that? No? So basically, I saw a picture on Instagram actually like 2 weeks ago, and it was like a Polaroid that you can get. And I tried to find the business, but I do think that these are kind of everywhere. That's kind of what I'm getting. But it's not really something that I had heard of or been exposed to before it came on my Instagram feed. And it was like, this girl smiling, and then there's all of these like colors around her. And then it was an advertisement for aura photography where you can get your aura photographed. And I thought that was so cool. And I kind of do want to try it. This aura photography goes back as far as 1939 in Russia. An inventor named Semyon Davajovich Kirkin invented a method of photography using a metal plate and an electric current that he claimed could reveal the life force of his subjects and even predict illness. In the 1980s, Guy Coggins invented the first mass-marketed Aura camera called the AuraCam 3000. Most Aura photographers today still use Guy's work, and the modern one is called the AuraCam 6000. And I think that we'll have like a semi-segment on this show because I love asking you to guess the price of stuff. So Javi, guess the price of this AuraCam 6000.
This is my training for The Price is Right. $900.
Do you want to do 3 guesses or do you just want me to tell you?
Is it higher or lower?
It's higher.
I'm going to say $2,000.
Higher.
Oh.
Last guess.
$3,000.
$15,698.
I never paid that much.
Yeah. And the sessions.
That's a car.
Bro. Bro, I have no idea why this camera's so expensive. I'm sure it's worth it. I saw online that the average session goes for like $40 a piece. And I was like, wow, they would need to do a lot of sessions to be able to pay off that camera. That's what they're using, which I don't know. But it seems to be like what most people are using for Aura photography. So that's just nifty. If you didn't know about that, that's out there. You know, go line the pockets of these cool photographers. So cameras function, and like this is like going back to the article, they discuss how the aura is sensitive to our moods and everything that connects to us. Cameras function by snatching all the available light of its subjects, and in the case of living creatures, a part of the aura. They're saying that the light that goes around the person, which is the aura, it gets captured in the camera. So the aura, they were saying in this article, needs time to heal and regenerate that energy. If you continue to be photographed after completely losing your aura, the camera will take a bit of your soul next. So that's where it kind of loses me, because then there's the conversation about like what is even a soul. And the girl I had that conversation with earlier, she was thinking that the soul exists in its energy, and I was like, that's fire, you know? So I was thinking about that in terms of like an energy kind of, you know, life force. And like, I don't know. I just, I recently went on a trip to go see my family, and the entire house was surveillanced. And I did feel like, I don't know, tired being in that space. I was uncomfortable, so I wanted to leave. So I had done this research on that trip, and I thought it was, you know, fascinating to think about how energy could be snatched by cameras. I was just kind of like, wow, that's crazy. So yeah, the University of Arakab is currently working on a camera called the Gaia Refill Filter, or GRF for short, to help reduce the effects of soul snatching cameras. Another fun fact is you can mentally train yourself to see your aura.
Weren't you trying to do that?
I was, yeah, but I'm not, I wasn't consistent with it. But I did think that, and it's like, that's the thing too, is like when you do stuff like this, you're not sure if it's like real or if your mind's making it up. But how I was training to do it in like the beginning stages of this, I'm sure there are better ways and better resources to learn how to do stuff like that. But when I did research online, it was saying that you want to look at your hand. So like put your hand maybe like 10 or 12 inches in front of your face, and you just spread your fingers out and you put your hand up against a lighter surface, and you can kind of train yourself to see kind of like a shimmering wave around your fingers. And that's how you can kind of begin to see your aura. That's what I was training myself to do. But I wasn't taking it so seriously. I was doing it for like 30 seconds and then I would get like bored. And, you know, anything that you're practicing, that it deserves more time than that. So, but yeah, it is possible to be able to train yourself to see it. And I just think that kind of stuff is so fascinating.
Cool.
Here's some fun facts. Love Actually was actually an international co-production between the United Kingdom, the United States, and France.
Didn't know that.
Isn't that cool? So this film was a box office success, grossing $246 million worldwide on a budget of $40 to $45 million.
So they made back like 300% margin on that.
Yeah, and it's still, bringing in the big bucks today, as it's now a holiday staple for some people.
So a nice little check. Mm-hmm. Hope everybody got their royalties in that contract. Probably not. Who knows?
Who knows? I didn't research that part. I was also wondering why the film is called Love Actually. Once you it's as easy as pie to see the reasoning. It's love is actually everywhere. Love is actually all that matters. Those are quotes by Mary Poppins.
What?
No, not Mary Poppins. The woman who plays Mary Poppins. Emma Thompson. She doesn't play Mary Poppins. She plays Nanny McPhee. I'm getting them mixed up.
Okay. Well, here's a fun fact. Did you know that the word actually is said 23 times in the movie?
Really? I say that word that much in a day.
You like it so much that you've got it tattooed on your hands.
Oh my God. I almost forgot. That's funny. No, I didn't know that. That's really interesting. You'd think it would be more. I would, if I had a movie like that, I would try to get it in there as many times as possible so that you could turn it into a drinking game.
True that. Drink every time they say actually, and drink every time Hailey says interesting.
I know that I went really crazy on that word the last episode. So in front of me currently, I have a synonym page for the word interesting.
What do you got?
So some words, alluring. See, they don't really sum it up. Like, I'm trying to say that piqued my interest. And the words here, alluring, amusing, attractive.
That amused me.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amusing.
But no, it's giving me ideas, One of them stimulating, provocative, pleasing. I'm trying. But yeah, I was like, oh, wow. I cringed. But yeah, you could turn that into a drinking game too. Have fun.
Yeah. I get blackout by halfway through this episode.
So, from the director, Richard Curtis, he said in his interview that the film pales, so sweet, it pales in comparison to all of the extraordinary love that is in the world. He thinks this film doesn't do it justice.
That's true.
How wholesome.
There's a lot of beautiful love out here that doesn't make the cut for being dramatic storylines, but it's really beautiful. Some of the stories that you hear of people falling in love and the passion that humans can have for each other,
Yes.
Like me and you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Javi is so on the love bus right now because I just came back from my trip of a week last night. So he's like, oh my God, you're back.
A week without her. I was all alone in my bed. It was lonely. I had to hug the pillow. I imagine it was Hailey.
We have a boyfriend pillow, so he should have been fine. Nick's a good cuddler.
He doesn't like me.
Yeah, he does. He likes you a lot. He likes you a bunch. He told me. Anyway, do you have any notes on the music?
Well, my music notes is just that the soundtrack was like really banging. It was like awesome.
Really?
All the songs.
The only song that's coming through is like, love is all around me.
Oh, yeah. But it wasn't even if it was memorable or not. It was just like the impact that they had on their scenes. Like we were talking about the favorite transition scene,
Yes,
that was great.
Yes, it was. It was.
When they were in the church, Peter and Juliet were getting married and Mark arranged that whole music flash mob.
Right? Oh,
and the choir came out, the R&B singer was there, saxophones in the audience, and in the pews, guys with guitars, and that was a great moment. Towards the end, Daniel and Sam, Sam is the little boy, he's in love with that girl at his school. So he learns how to be in a band, and then he's in the band, and then, he's playing with his girl and on stage, and that's a great moment.
I didn't think about how music was impacting all those lives in those ways. That's really insightful.
David, the prime minister, when he's dancing by himself to that song, he's got those awesome dance moves, and all of a sudden he turns around and then boom.
That guy dances like Javi does.
Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah, he was like, look at those moves.
I'm stealing those moves. Yeah, but he turns around and his old secretary is there, and she's just like, hmm? And he's like, yes. I was thinking we should move the Japanese ambassador to 4:00. Yes. She's like, yeah, all right, carry on. Like nothing happened. It was great. All those music scenes were all of my favorite scenes. I mean, and yeah, like Billy Mac's recording shoot in the very beginning of the film. Like,
yeah,
what more do you need? You know, they all had great melodies and nice little grooves, and they paid attention to what they were doing in the scene. You know, what did you notice visually about this film?
So immediately watching the film, I noticed that all the colors were really bright and vibrant. I think that it set the tone of the film as this like cheery and happy experience for the viewer. I noticed in the first scene that Billy Mac's shirt, the singer in this movie, his shirt was so phenomenal. It was, did you see it? I mean, I really personally appreciate mismatched patterns.
He dressed like a rock star.
I think he dresses like an eccentric person, not necessarily, yeah, kind of a rock star. You can associate eccentricity with rock star attire and attitude.
He was giving Keith Richards or Mick Jagger.
Yeah, I could see that. I think that the mismatched pattern was like a masterpiece, and it totally screams like unhinged artist, which I think set up his character really perfectly, because he goes on to say some like really crazy things on the TV and on the radio show, and he kind of seems like he's going to tank this Christmas season. Like he thinks that his song is crap before it's even released, and then it gets released and he thinks it's crap, and he says that if my song's made #1, I will dance naked on TV, and everyone's like so like aghast at what he says, you know. And then he goes and on Christmas or Christmas Eve he goes and he's there naked, you know, behind that guitar, and that he was actually on TV, and his performance distracted the attendants so that the little boy could get in his goodbye for Joanna. Yeah, and that's how he impacted that little boy who was in love. It's sweet. Yeah. So that was cool. I think that, you know, that's what I noticed about that.
So you look at that. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll helps the children.
So fun fact, Richard Curtis's daughter, Richard Curtis, as a reminder, is the director. He has a daughter named Scarlett Curtis, and she posted a poll on her Instagram. What is Juliet's profession, played by Keira Knightley, in the film? 89,000 people participated in Scarlett's poll, and only 96% of them, actually 96% of them said no, they do not know what her profession is. So Scarlett hopped on a video call with her dad to ask him, and Richard revealed that he was hurt that people weren't able to tell that she was an interior designer. He thought that the set design made it very obvious. I actually rewatched that scene, and I still don't think it was obvious.
Not at all.
Yeah.
He's crazy. You talk about the subtlest detail.
Literally. And it's like, when it comes to stuff like that, like, there's so much going on in scenes. So the scene apparently, they decided on her profession and the creation of the room that she called Mark, played by Andrew Lincoln, where she asked Mark about the video that he took at her wedding to see if he had anything that was usable. So they were like, apparently the quote unquote, they said they were freaking out about the room to put Juliet in. And then they were like, oh, well, let's like have the room demonstrate her profession. And they decided on interior designer, and they put a bunch of like swatches and stuff in the room behind her. And I watched that, and I mean, like, yeah, there was like rolls of fabric and stuff like that. But if I personally had to guess what her profession was based on the room behind her, I would have said like seamstress.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like clothing, making clothing. You know?
Yeah. And maybe that was like for curtains or something. So you're able, yeah. So that was cool to learn about. I thought that
was a creepy video. I think, what Mark shot, because he shot the whole wedding, but it was just close-ups of her.
I guess you could call it obsessive, you know? But what I'm kind of getting about that storyline between Mark, Julia, and Peter is there's a ton of repression in Mark's character. So when you repress something like that, it's kind of like, to put it metaphorically, it's funny, I'm thinking in art terms as I'm describing this. Let's say that you have a piece of paper and you got your sketchbook and you glue something into the sketchbook and the glue bubbles up underneath the paper and there's nowhere for it to go except out. It needs to get released. You know, that glue doesn't just go away. So I hope that makes sense, but it needs to come out somewhere, these feelings. And he's not telling his best friend, who he's clearly so close with. He's the best man at his wedding. He's not telling Juliet. It's a total secret. So yeah, I get what you're saying. It does come off creepy. And I guess that in part is because it is creepy. You know, he has this like secret crush and he can't do anything about it. And it's coming out in weird ways. But it was a video that he wasn't expecting anyone to ever see. It's almost like a diary. So when he is kind of forced to show that, because I rewatched that scene too of how she stumbled upon it. So she comes over to his flat without invitation, and he tries to get her to keep her from coming inside, and then she kind of forces her way in. She brings some food as like a peace offering because she can kind of sense the weird vibes coming from him where he doesn't like her and da-da-da-da-da. Were you able to, you know, look to see if you had that film that I could use from my wedding? And he goes, well, I never actually, you know, I couldn't find it. I think it's lost. I'll have to do some digging. And then she looks over on a bookshelf. She sees it from across the room and it's literally labeled on like a VCR tape. What are those called?
It's a VCR tape.
Oh, okay. I thought I was saying it wrong.
VHS tape.
VHS tape. Yeah, that's right. She saw it from across the room, Juliet and Peter's wedding. And she goes, isn't that it right there? And he's like, And then she pops it in pretty much without his consent. He just, you know, kind of froze. He didn't really know what to say. And there she was kind of reading his visual diary. And it made it very clear what was going on. But that wasn't something that she may have ever discovered. I think he would literally have rather burn the bridge with her and burn the bridge with Peter before admitting what that was. But I absolutely hear what you're saying. It's definitely not like, it's not the best video. The whole thing the whole thing screams, you weren't supposed to see this. Mm-hmm. And it kind of screams that for us as a viewer as well.
Yeah. I
mean, we thought he was gay, right? And like, that's kind of the thing we were talking about recently.
One of the greatest film twists in history.
Yeah. Like we couldn't tell. They set it up very clearly for us to think he was gay, so much so that even one of the characters saw him just kind of staring at the bride and groom on their wedding day, probably filming. I think he was filming a video and he was focusing on her, and then he gets approached by someone out of the corner of his eye. He's like, oh, this person's coming. He puts it away, and then she goes, so are you in love with him? Like, everyone thought that, you know. So that was that was a cool setup, and they definitely got us with that. They got everyone.
Yeah. I can't wait to get that more in depth with that storyline. And with all those storylines, I want to deep dive into each romance a little bit later.
So Harry is played by Alan Rickman, and his profession in the film was a managing director at a design agency. Mark, by Andrew Lincoln, works in an art gallery where the Christmas office party takes place. So I'm just noticing a pattern of the arts being really prominently presented in this film. More literally in visual arts, the Christmas party in the gallery that Mark works in, where, you know, like in the party's being hosted from the office that Alan Rickman is in, they displayed kind of like nude photography, Christmas photography, where there was like Christmas hats covering genitals or, you know, secret spots on places. And it reminded me of something that I would make, like that, like funny, sexy art.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought that it was like, I think I remember thinking that or like saying it out loud as we watched it.
Hailey had a college thesis that was food porn.
Yeah.
Like a corn dog in between titties.
That was called Corn Job.
Yeah.
It wasn't a corn dog. It was a corn on the cob.
Oh, it was corn on the cob, right?
Yeah.
Like there was like this famous porn video where like these two girls are like licking literally a corn dog, I think, or hot dog or something.
No,
that you made.
they were licking something else.
Okay.
I put a corn dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're on a picnic and it's food porn.
That was an oil painting that sold for like $200, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think maybe something like that. I definitely, yeah. I can't believe my professor let me do that, honestly.
Yeah.
Like I look back and I'm like, Hey. But that senior year was fire. I was drinking in my dorm. I couldn't come to class to paint these paintings because I was literally using porn as references. So I got permission to just stay on my dorm and I finished my paintings. But yeah, my thesis was weird. I think it was memorable. Everyone I talked to about it remembers it. I can't remember anybody else's thesis. Am I self-centered or brilliant? Is it both?
It's love, actually.
Javi's a big fan of my art.
Yeah, and someone's got that painting hanging in their family dining room right now.
They take it down at Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Oh no, that's when they put it up.
That's when they put Christmas hats on the nipples, just like in this movie. I don't understand these photographs. I'm sure we could put 10 million meanings to them, but I did note that during the film, when he's on the phone call with Juliet about the photography, there's some like teens kind of giggling at the art. And he goes, they're actually not funny. That's art. And it's
a little pretentious right there.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. But it's like maybe he knows the serious meaning behind these nipples on being covered by these Santa hats. Doesn't seem that serious, dude. No. So yeah, that's what I got for what I noticed about the visual arts of the movie.
Cool. Shall we dive deep into each of these relationships then?
Okay, let's go.
So with all of these, I have less to say on each relationship, the less problematic it gets. So the really healthy ones, we're just gonna fly right through them.
Poly can't solve problems where no problems don't live.
Don't problem.
They're not problematic. Poly can't fix the problem.
It's true.
Yeah, that's what we're all about here.
Yeah, we're trying to save lives. We're trying to change some people's
save lives.
All right, let's go through some of the problematic ones first. So let's start with Karen and Henry.
That's funny. That's actually where I started in my notes as well.
All right.
Yeah, it's kind of the one with the most problems.
And it's honestly, I find it the most gut-wrenching and real, in this act of infidelity that happens, or that is starting to occur.
Yeah.
It's heartbreaking. Especially when Karen discovers the gold necklace she thought was for her, but isn't actually for her. It's instead for Henry's assistant, Mia, that he's starting this, the starting stages of an affair with. The gift he gets for Karen, though, is thoughtful. It's a CD of Joni Mitchell, which is an artist that they had a conversation about.
I remember actually talking to Javi when I saw her open that gift because they had a conversation over, she was like doing stuff for Christmas, getting preparations maybe, and listening to this artist. And do you remember the artist's name?
Joni Mitchell.
Joni Mitchell. So he's like, you still listen to Joni Mitchell? And she's like, she said something like, this woman made me the person I am, or has helped me through a lot of difficult stuff, something like that. And I guess, that showed up for him. And he's like, wow, like my wife really likes it. Like I felt like personally it showed a lot of love. I think that it showed more warmth in that gift than the necklace did to Mia. And then I thought about it, and I think I rewatched it a couple of times too. The wife did want a present like that. I think that maybe she has wanted a gift like that for a long time. So then when you change the context of that present, because I remember when Mia says to Harry on the phone, I don't want something I need. I want something I want, something pretty. And he's like, okay, what do I get that's pretty? And he fell on a necklace. And I think what is sad about that is that if it's true that that present is something that wife wanted, and has maybe been excited or hoping for, and then Harry was so unreasonable about getting that gift for Mia at the snap of her fingers, that's where I think more of the problem lies. But when I initially saw that CD, I actually thought that demonstrated more love than the necklace did. But, maybe that was just a bad interpretation of the film when the first go round. It's a complex film. It's hard to follow.
Yeah. That gift did mean a lot to Karen. Like, he paid attention and he got something that meant something for her. And I'm sure any other Christmas without her seeing that gold necklace, she would have been ecstatic. It's like, oh my God, he really cares. He listened to me, But because she saw that gold necklace, now that gift is worthless. It's meaningless. But, he cares about her and he cares about his family. But I think the reasons he doesn't turn down the reception's advances are a few. Obviously, let me just say off the bat that it's okay to have feelings for another person while you're already in a relationship. It's completely natural. It happens all the time. Regardless if that relationship structure is monogamous, poly, or some other form of E&M, aka ethical non-monogamy for those uninitiated. It's completely natural for this to happen, and there's no need to feel guilty or shameful. It's just a matter of what you do with these feelings. There's this quote by Johnny Depp that goes, if you love two people at the same time, choose the second, because if you really love the first one, you wouldn't have fallen for the second.
Yuck.
Bruh.
Yuck.
I hate it. I think that quote is the unhealthiest dating advice you could ever hear in your life. I mean, it's just awful. Jeez. I'm sure monogamous-minded Javi was all in agreement when I first heard this quote.
I'm not in agreement with that. I don't think I would agree with that even as a monogamous person.
I don't know. But
Johnny Depp's a fool.
He is. But now, as an adult with a clearer understanding of how the heart works, I'm appalled by so many people agreeing with this quote. I looked it up online. There was this website, goodreads.com, where I found the quote, the exact quote, and thousands of people liked it. They were like, yes, heart, love it. If you're respectful to your partner, you can discuss these feelings with your partner if your relationship structure allows for it, or if you think that it'd be okay broaching this topic. Maybe you're in an open relationship and you can just bring up these feelings that, hey, there's someone new coming into my life. Or if these feelings are very strong, you can broach this conversation of possibly opening up your relationship with your monogamous partner at your own discretion. You obviously know what your partner feels most comfortable with or not. And if you don't think your partner would be down for that kind of change, then unfortunately, that bubble rises like you were talking about in that metaphor. You would have to just push those feelings down and out. What you don't do is you pursue these feelings against the boundaries of your established relationship, because that is cheating. And people cheat for a lot of different reasons. Like
actually, can we go into that real quick? Because I have actually repeatedly run into situations where I am educating people on polyamory for the very first time. And I say to them where there's some type of implication in the communication that I'm having with them, where they don't understand that it's possible to cheat in a polyamorous connection. And I just want to put out there that it is totally possible to cheat in a polyamorous connection, and how cheating is set up is as DIY as the relationship is. So I remember when I first started doing research on polyamory and boundaries and stuff like that, learning what was important for different people. There was one couple I stumbled upon. I think it was someone on YouTube, and they were kind enough to share their personal experiences and talk about polyamory. And one of their boundaries was that their partner and themselves, it was a boundary within the relationship that they weren't allowed to date someone within, I think it was like 50 miles of their home. And so in that relationship, if they date someone within 50 miles of their home, that is cheating because that's what they have agreed on. And it's kind of different for monogamous relationships where there's this kind of like general aspect of what cheating means. I think most people can agree that sleeping with someone else is cheating. But then once you get past that, those kinds of obvious things of like, oh, they kissed and that's cheating, even that's blurry for some people. Some people might not interpret a kiss as cheating. And that's where it gets kind of foggy and you have to kind of iron out what those boundaries are within that relationship. So yeah, those that's how cheating can work in polyamory.
Yeah. Your cheating just happens when you break a boundary of your relationship. And most monogamous boundaries are just sleep with other people or have some kind of romantic affection with someone else. That's not me. And that's the cheating in monogamy. But in polyamory or other forms of non-monogamy, you choose your own boundary, the 50-mile rule or whatever else, you know. So let's say, you have a relationship and you build these boundaries and you still cheat. Why do people cheat? There's a lot of different reasons. I can't cover them all, but some of them range from having low self-esteem issues. Some people have trauma or unhealthy learned behaviors from childhood, lack of fulfillment, lack of integrity, a lot of things. Yeah. So Harry, I think, is a boring dude and is bored with his life. I think he's in a routine. He talks very monotone, which I think why Alan Rickman is perfect for the role, because he has it's kind of like Squidward.
I don't think he talks very monotonously. I think that he's got a really deep voice and he actually does use a lot of inflection.
Sometimes he does.
Yeah. I don't think he's monotone.
Well, either way, I think he's in a routine of a 9-to-5 office management role, and he comes home to his family every day, and it's just the cycle of this. And now this new person has come into his life, and the novelty of their interactions is something that excites him, and it's understandable why he's feeling the way he's feeling. He could have talked with his wife about it to figure it out, sort of arrangement.
I want to interject. I think I totally disagree with you right now.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think by you communicating right now that Harry is bored with his life and that's why he's interested in Mia, kind of like aids the belief that, like, the monogamous belief that you only want to cheat or you only want to be polyamorous because you're lacking something in your relationship or you're missing something. And I think that's a really common misconception, and I don't want to be a part of that conception or that misconception. So yeah, I just want to like kind of like chime in that I think that I don't think he's like, he might be bored with his routine. He might be not feeling very excited or very stimulated. But, Mia and his wife are very, very different women. And Mia's at a different stage in her life where she's got this like uncaged sexual energy. She gives like seductress, and that's not really something you get from his partner. His partner is very matronly and she cares for him. And there is a lot of love in that connection. And I think that there's something exciting as well about a forbidden romance that kind of stems not only from the forbidden connection of you can't be with this person because you're monogamously married, but simultaneously that work connection. So I think that it is exciting for him. And there might be something that he's not necessarily getting in his connection with his partner, but that doesn't mean that, I just want to hammer home that, just because you are interested in someone doesn't mean that, you're lacking or missing something in your relationship. Sometimes things are just exciting, and falling in love with somebody or being sexually attracted to someone is just exciting. And that's really all it could be sometimes.
Yeah.
I just wanted to kind of chime in on that because I feel like that perpetuates a misconception that I don't really think that either of us really stand for. So he can still be looking for excitement and stuff like that. I just wanted to get in front of that. People don't just pursue connections outside of their relationship because there's something missing in their relationship. And they need something else, and that can happen sometimes too. Like, I don't know what it's like to be married for 30 plus years. Sometimes things do get stale. What I have noticed about even dating some people in this small amount of time that we have known each other, which is about 3 to 4 years, that like I go on dates or I have sexual interactions with people, and they teach me something about my body. Or they teach me something new, like a new move that I like, and I bring it back into my connection with you, and it just kind of gives me another tool in my little toolbox of sexual activity and pleasure. And when you don't get that kind of new experience in your life, I can't imagine that things do get stale. So I'm not saying that you're necessarily wrong, because right now we're talking about an interpretation of a feeling that isn't actually discussed or talked about in the film at all. So these are both opinions, but I just wanted to get in front of, because there might be some people listening to us who have never really been exposed to any of these ideas before. And I just want to get in front of it to make sure that the people who are listening, who are newer to these ideas, get the full spectrum of the experiences and don't just come in with the monogamous mindsets that tend to be a bit more toxic.
Yeah, maybe he could just spice up his sex life with his wife. Like, the sexual novelty of this assistant is exciting him, and he is in a monogamous structure, so he can't. He shouldn't do something about it because he's agreed this monogamous marriage. So he should instead take that energy that he's wanting from Mia and just put that energy into his wife. And that would be the healthy way to go about it. But as Harry says himself, he's been a classic fool.
Yeah. Okay. Is that all of your notes on Harry and Karen?
No, I really want to figure out, why do these people not own pillows?
They don't own pillows.
Yeah, every time we saw their bedroom, they didn't have pillows on there.
Well, I can't comment on that. I'll just have to take your word for it.
It's so odd. They have money. Do
British people not have pillows?
Is that something? Can our British viewers please let us know? Do you know what a pillow is? Yeah.
So, Mia is a home wrecker. Kind of getting into her mindset a little bit. I'm wondering if she's like seeing this man, like she just started a new job and she's seeing this man in this position of authority. And I don't know what her sign might be, but she clearly has a lot of power, especially in the sexual arena. She's very shameless with it and how she wields it. I wouldn't necessarily say like a weapon, but maybe like a shiny lasso. And it's sparkly and it entraps you, and you want to learn more about what she's capable of.
She's attracted to this older man with the power.
Yeah, and I think that maybe she feels she's finally met her match, something like that maybe. We don't know what her relationship history is like, but she sees this man, she wants this man, and she will not let anything stop her. She makes it very known, and I'm wondering how she would pursue him if he were single.
She must be a fire sign.
Maybe. I don't know. It's kind of hard to place. Like, she's a little tricky for me personally. What I've kind of experienced in my history is when someone's in a relationship, they are actually they're more attractive. And I think that the reason is not because like, oh, he's taken. It's something like, oh, look at him in a functional relationship. And if he's in a functional relationship, it must mean that he's good at it. He's good at being in that relationship, and he would treat me right too. So I think that's kind of where maybe sometimes people who are after people in relationships, that's maybe where that desire can kind of come from sometimes. Like, look at him, he has this established family, and I could get that with him too. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I think. That's what me trying to get into her head. But I actually noted, do you notice that at the Christmas party that she goes to for her work party, it's a Christmas party. Did you notice that she dressed up in costume?
Like what costume?
She wore a devil costume.
Oh, yeah.
to a Christmas party.
Yeah.
To a Christmas party.
Yeah.
So that's just like, is sacrilegious the right word? I'm not even sure. But that feels...
Because she's a sin.
I noticed that in the party, Harry and Karen are talking, and Karen, leaves him. She walks away from him. And then the second that she leaves, he gets tapped on the shoulder by the devil. Mm-hmm. And I was like,
Yeah. Cool little details all throughout.
Yeah, I thought that was especially interesting. But what an interesting choice as a woman for this work party. Would you ever show up to a Christmas party dressed in costume? Not only dressed in costume, but dressed as Satan?
It was for him.
Yeah, that's what she said too. She said it's all for you.
It was his temptation.
Yeah. So yeah, she's something else. She tells him during that party, he goes, and I noticed too, he actually asked if she had a boyfriend twice. And I was like, you didn't hear her the first time? So he kind of tried to work into conversation. Do you have don't tell me you have some and he kind of made up some, I guess, easy to ridicule kind of character. And he's like, you're not bringing someone like that to the party, are you? And she goes, no, I'll just be standing under the mistletoe waiting to be kissed. And she does not blink as she's staring him in his eyes. Yeah. And so there's that. And then when we're at the party and she taps him on the shoulder and they start engaging conversation, he points to Mark by Andrew Lincoln, and he's like, oh, is that your boyfriend? And she's like, no, he's not my boyfriend. But the question looks like it was posed seriously. And it's like, you think that someone who was so interested in, her at this point would remember something like that. It didn't seem like a joke to me when he asked her at the party. So a side note about standing under the mistletoe, because I like learning about origins of stuff like that. So that actually started in ancient Greece during the festival of Saturnalia, and later in marriage, because of the plant's association with fertility. So when mistletoe is placed above heads, men are allowed to steal a kiss from any woman standing under it, and refusing to kiss a woman or refusing the kiss is considered to be bad luck.
So you got to kiss that person. Or you get bad luck for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
How about that scene when Karen confronts Harry about it after the school play?
Can you spark my memory?
So the school play with the nativity scene where the kids are the lobsters in the nativity scene.
Yeah.
Because there were live lobsters at a nativity, apparently. But, in this kind of storyline, most wives would have kept that knowledge to themselves, or...
I actually don't know why, but I'm totally blanking on this scene. Could you paint a picture for me?
So it's after the nativity scene. These kids are playing the live lobsters.
Yes.
And Harry and Karen are walking away.
Okay.
Just talking, just slow walking, waiting for the kids to come out from backstage. And Karen confronts Harry about it, where most wives in these kinds of storylines would just keep it to themselves or something like that. She confronts him. She's like, what would you do if you were in my situation, where you found out that your husband got a gold necklace for his assistant? Would you be worried that it was just a gold necklace in sex or a gold necklace in love? And he says, oh, I've been a classic fool. I'm so sorry. And she says, well, you made the life that I lead also very foolish. And she goes and gets the kids, and they walk away
that's why
together.
It didn't stick is because it's kind of subtle.
Yeah.
It's not like how I would go about something like that would be be a whole talk. You know, I would have sat your ass down and we would have talked about it. But she just kind of did that in passing.
Yeah, and then at the end, she walks away with the kids, and one of the kids is like, "Where's Daddy?" And she's like, "He's coming." And she leaves with the kids, and he's kind of just left alone in the dust. And it feels like that's the future for them. Like he's gonna be left in the dust, and there's this big separation between them now. It's going to take a lot for them to rebuild their trust. And luckily, they've had a very long-standing relationship, a very long marriage.
Honestly, I don't even think it would take that much to rebuild their trust because they caught it at a sweet spot where nothing had actually happened except a gift was bought. So I think that's actually a really safe place to catch something like that and be able to repair it pretty seamlessly.
Yeah, so they're going to be able to, their marriage can survive, especially because it's already a long-standing relationship. It's established already. That helps a lot. But yeah, a classic fool, as he says. So do you think polyamory could help these people out?
Yes.
Yeah. Why do you think that?
I think that this is kind of a classic feeling that people get in relationships like this. And, you know, this is a modern couple. I think a couple that could actually very easily educate themselves or learn about it. They're adults, create those boundaries. They created a whole family together. They can definitely figure out the ecosystem of a new relationship like that. And, you know, like hypothetically, what could have happened in this situation is he has feelings for his secretary. Okay, go to your partner, you know, because I don't know. It's just so hard. It's just so hard to tell people that they can go to their partner. Everything's going to be fine because so many people associate, you know, like you were just saying with Johnny Depp, where if you like someone else, it means you don't love me. When people get cheated on, they think, oh, you cheated on me because you don't love me. And that's not often the case. But yeah, like, you know, let's say she received him well. Communicating with your partner and being open and authentic is the best thing that you can do for your relationship. Because if you don't, then what you get is minefields of temptation and careless actions that impact your relationship more negatively than you could have ever foreseen. So he could have went to her, talked to her about it, and then maybe that could have been a catalyst for them creating the situation where not only he could go pursue that hot young thing in his office, but she could also pursue anybody she dreams. Mm-hmm. She's a housewife. You know she's got fantasies.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's start with the mailman.
Right. I got a package to deliver.
Hey, I've got a package.
Yeah, I was also going to say yes for poly for these people, you know. These feelings are natural. They happen all the time. You know, I used to beat myself up all the time when I was younger. I'm like, oh, I'm with someone, but I got the feelings for someone else. Oh, God, I'm awful. But it happens all the time. Like, it's very natural. I was also thinking poly could help them out because they're parents, you know. More people in the relationship in the web.
Care of that kid.
Takes a village, man.
It does take a village. It really does.
Yeah, they got 2 kids. They could definitely use some help. Yeah, why not? Let's go to these guys. Peter, Mark, and Juliet.
That's my next one on the list, too.
Ay, buddy. Here we have the scene of the film, the most famous one.
Yeah.
Mark outside the door with the signs that every comedy show has satirized at some point.
Satirized.
Yeah.
New word for me.
Satire.
Oh.
Parody.
Got it.
Parody.
Got it.
Yeah.
Cool.
I want to point out one of the signs that Mark has says, while he's confessing his love to her, quote, without hope or agenda, which is a big fat lie.
What? No.
Yeah, he's not just trying to get this off his chest. If he wanted to do that, he would go to a priest or write a letter and burn it, or literally anything else except actually tell his best friend's wife that he's infatuated with her. His agenda is he hopes this confession garners some sort of positive response from her, and it does. She kisses him. And the film frames this as a moment that it's supposed to be romantic, like, oh, they couldn't be in love because of monogamous norms. They can't, but at least they can have this one secret moment and that's it. He walks away and says, enough. Like, that's the end of it. But I'm thinking, okay, you're walking away with this, but now think of the future, you know? They're going to see each other in future and like they have this little secret between each other. And I'm thinking in my head, well, slowly throughout the years, like tension will build and it could be the seed for an affair in the future. And then Peter and Mark will probably lose their friendship, and Peter and Julia will have a lot of work to rebuild their trust in their marriage if they decide to at all.
I think that he was being honest when he said he didn't have hope or agenda. You know, like how the signs are set up and how the scene actually happened was he said the signs, he, said his goodbye, and then he started walking away. She closed the door and he was still walking away. He was a good 25 feet away from the house when she decides to run outside and give him a kiss. I do think that there is something to be said about a seed being planted. I think that she planted the seed, though. By giving him a kiss, she gives him hope. What she might have been thinking she was doing is giving someone a kiss they deserved for being honest or for loving her. But I think that there was something ignited that night. So I do think you're right about the potential of a future affair, because now they have a secret. And they're keeping that from Peter. She's keeping that from him. That's going to eat her alive, especially every time she sees him. Or they might just continue to keep distance, but that's probably not going to work. You get that forbidden aspect kind of love situation, and eventually something's going to break.
Like that bubble. That bubble needs somewhere to go.
Yeah, the little glue bubble in your sketchbook.
Yeah. Mark's crush on her is confusing for me. I think Mark just has a really short-sighted perspective of Juliet. At least from what we're shown, she's never indicated that she's into him.
I don't think he perceives her as being interested.
No, she actually thinks that he hates her.
He wants her to think that.
Yeah, there's a lot of animosity. Because according to her, he never even talks to her. Like, they've never even talked. Maybe I'm assuming they've had small chit chat with each other, and that's it.
Yeah, they probably had enough conversation for him to be like, I am fucking in love with this girl. Like, I mean, how many times did we have to talk before you realized that you were really into me?
Sure.
Right? I mean, we got engaged, 2 months in? You knew. It's pretty fast. So how long does he have to know her for him to be like, this woman's amazing, and then start to distance? And that's something too that I need in relationships a lot, is reassurance. So hypothetically, I could be talking to someone every single day for 2 months. And then all of a sudden, if I don't hear from them in 3 to 5 days, I'm going to start thinking they hate me. And give that kind of behavior a couple more weeks to grow. No feelings are being, confessed or talked about. There's no one's making the amends for whatever change, whatever shift happened in that connection. I would start thinking that they hated me. Even if we had been talking that consistently and they were saying things like, you're amazing, I love you, all this great stuff. If you have a shift like that all of a sudden, then I go 6 months down the line, I would think, well, this person hates me. So I don't think like it's the way that it's set up. I actually think it's possible. It's realistic, I think.
All right. Yeah. Well, I guess, when you know, and I guess he knew. I still think it was wrong of him to tell her that. Just needed not to. He just needed not to do that. He knew he shouldn't have.
I think he knew because when she opened the door, he had a sign ready to go that says, "Tell him it's carolers," and then that creates the first seed of we're doing a secret.
What was his plan if she didn't answer the door? What if it was Peter that answered the door?
I never thought about that.
Haley's jaw just dropped.
He got me there. That's very thought provoking. I don't know.
He would have just ran away.
He must have known. Like maybe because I think you can kind of hear TV going on. And maybe and I don't know, but hypothetically, what if his bestie's really into sports and he knows that a certain game is on at a certain time, and then he just happens to be I'll go during this time because I know for sure his eyes are glued to that television set. Maybe it's something like that where he was so confident that he came with a bunch of signs and knew how it was going to go. That's the only thing I can think of. It's either that or he's just a dumbass and didn't think about that at all.
He's a dumbass. I'm leaning toward he's a dumbass.
I'm going to give him the benefit because he seems like a smart guy to me. You know, he seems like somebody who's very analytical and very well thought. You know, I think that the way that he managed to keep his crush a secret for so long, and it got to the point where he was not only convincing us as viewers but convincing the people around him that he was maybe homosexual, that, you know, like, I'm gonna say that he did actually have some type of thought out plan for that.
He was being sneaky about it.
I don't perceive him as being sneaky. Well, in the end, that was sneaky with the signs. That was totally sneaky. And that's when their relationship starts getting a bit you know? But up until that point, I think that he had done everything he could to be as respectful of the relationship that his best friend and his girl were cultivating. He tried to distance himself so much that everyone perceived him as absolutely hating her and being gay for him. Mm-hmm. So I think that he did do his best. And he didn't even admit it to her when she found out. She just saw these close-ups of her face and he just couldn't escape it. It was like his feelings were under a microscope and he couldn't handle it. He went outside and yelled and scared some people because the way that was so... This was someone who was cool as a cucumber the entire time. And he's so triggered to the point where he is screaming in public, not caring who's around. So that was a big deal for him. And he just couldn't leave it loose like that, you know?
Yeah. Not everybody's perfect, obviously.
Except you. Well, more so.
Hailey's pretty close to it. But yeah, I mean, you know, I think he just needed to go out and meet someone new and focus on himself or something instead. He really shouldn't have said that.
Yeah, like when you have a friend in a monogamous relationship like that and your feelings are overwhelming you, how do you handle that? Like, let's say that Julia and Peter are monogamous and there's no hope of them ever opening up their relationship. What do you do when you're the bestie in that kind of situation?
You move on. You don't try to take your best friend's girl.
Do you understand the mentality of distancing yourself so much? I can relate to that, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. There's a guy that I have known forever. We were friends since preschool. Javi's familiar with him and has spoken on the phone with him before. And he had a girlfriend back in high school, and I didn't like her. I think that I actually just didn't really like her that much. I don't think that our personalities mixed very well, but I also wasn't trying really hard to like her. And I think that was coming from, you know, a place of jealousy. And I was trying really hard to mask those feelings, but I couldn't. And it was coming off as rude. Yeah. So I'm wondering, like, this guy, he's just trying so hard to mask his true feelings that it's coming off as rude. And that's kind of something that I can relate to.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
You have any more notes on these people?
Yeah, I actually have a question for you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Javi?
Huh? Oh, God. What? Oh, what?
Oh, good.
Who are you? What?
Javi, channeling your monogamous past and experiences, in your opinion, did Juliet cheat on Peter with Mark?
Yes.
By kissing him?
Yeah.
On the cheek with that romantic gesture? Was it on the cheek? It was on the lips.
Mouth to mouth.
Mouth to mouth. She cheated on him?
Which, by the way, Keira Knightley was 17 when she filmed this.
Oh, film. Whoa. I didn't know that.
Kissing grown-ass men. Fun fact. But yes, absolutely cheating. They're monogamous. Can't just kiss whoever.
I agree. Channeling my monogamous experiences, that's cheating. Yes.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, okay. So she's already cheated just by doing that. Door open and walked through.
Yeah.
Okay. I do think that after Mark did that romantic gesture, that Juliet did start to fall in love with him, and that is probably going to ignite an affair, or at least an emotional affair. When I was monogamous, I actually did consider emotional affairs to be cheating.
Should they just be poly?
Yes.
Yeah. I think obviously if they were all poly, there wouldn't be a conflict.
Yeah.
Right.
But then you have like weird situations, like right now, Javi and I still have a standing boundary about us not dating each other's best friends or each other's like family right now. Everyone else is fair game. So there's like, even if they were poly, there still could be boundaries where like, hey, this is my best friend and I can't let you do that. You know, I'm just not comfortable with it. And then they would still have to just deal with it. So it's very touchy. The nature of the relationships are very sensitive.
Yeah. Some people might be cool with it, you know.
Javi, would you be cool with it if I dated one of your close friends?
We would just have to talk about it.
That's me too. You know, like I have that boundary up, but if for some reason you came to me one day and you're like, I'm really in love with so and so, be like, okay, let's talk about it, you know? And that's how it would go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It could be like in a V and be all peachy, you know? But I think because they're so willing to hide a secret for life, presumably, it's disrespectful and dishonest and very uncommunicative from Mark's part, and backstabbing to go behind his best friend's back like that. So ideally, if they were in a polyamorous relationship structure, like it'd be all cool.
All right, word. So yeah, those were the most problematic relationships in the film for sure.
Because that was like the infidelity storylines.
Mm-hmm.
And there's one more storyline with infidelity.
Really? Because that's actually...
There is one more.
That's actually the only relationships I took notes on, so you're totally taking me by surprise here.
So
what's the third one?
So Jamie and Aurelia.
Oh, you're right. How did I forget?
Yeah, so Jamie's storyline starts so heartbreaking. He catches his wife cheating on him with his brother. I mean...
Come in here, big boy. I want you at least 3 times before Jamie comes home.
Oh, God. What a kick to the gut.
And he was literally in the conversation with his brother, being like, I think we've been bad sons this year. I think we need to take mom out for dinner. And then his brother, I thought it was weird that he kind of said this. I feel like the film was trying to paint these people in certain lights before we discover them, kind of as like little signs that they were like this or something was going to happen. So when he says, yeah, I think we've been bad sons, let's take mom out for dinner this week, the brother goes, sounds kind of boring, but we can do it. It's like, okay, guy, taking your mom out to dinner sounds boring.
He's a bad guy. Don't feel sorry for him.
Yeah. And then when Jamie leaves for work, he says, I love you, runs away because he's late, comes back. And she's kind of posed on the bed in a certain way where it's a little, it's like more than relaxed. And she's got her shorts and stuff. And the way that she's kind of posing is a bit provocative. And then when he says, did I mention that I love you? She said, yes, loser. Now go or you'll actually miss it. And I guess maybe it wasn't work he was late to. Maybe it was the wedding or something.
Mm-hmm.
He
was at the wedding.
He was at the wedding. So yeah, you just you see little hints about their characters that are kind of subtly interlaced with the conversations that they have with the people that they're in different relationships with.
Yeah. So he gets cheated on and he's a novelist. So he goes to a cabin somewhere to write a novel.
Oh, it looks beautiful.
Yeah.
On the lake and everything.
Great.
He said he unpacks or just arrives or something. He's like, alone again, naturally.
Yeah. Love that.
Oh, you make yourself laugh, don't you?
Love that line. Very Stephen King-esque to rent a cabin somewhere and just be alone and write a novel. But he does that, and that's where he meets Aurelia, the maid or housekeeper or whatever.
I think their storyline is definitely one of the better ones.
Yeah.
One of the faves.
So they don't speak the same language at all. But
they speak the same language.
So somehow they end up unknowingly correctly conversing with each other in their own respective languages. Like, for example, he'll say in English, oh, I love this sandwich. And she says in Portuguese, don't eat too much or you'll gain weight. And then he responds in English, that's why I'm gaining weight. She can't understand English and he can't understand Portuguese. It's very improbable, but set in the stars. They were meant to be.
Yeah, they were very sweet.
It's very fairy tale like.
One of my favorite scenes is when they both jump in the water to fetch the papers that she accidentally knocks and then the wind takes over.
Yeah, I love it. I love their all of their scenes. They spend a lot of quality time with each other. And they even end up learning each other's languages because they want to so badly understand what they're saying. And at the end, they end up learning enough to conversate and agree to get married.
Yeah, they didn't know each other's language when she said yes to that proposal. Like he was chopping up Portuguese.
Yeah. I just think it's a little too big of a leap forward in their relationship. Like, listen, I mean, we just talked about it. Like, sure, I get it. Hailey and I got engaged after a month of dating.
That's what he basically said, though. He was like, some things are just so easy to see. It's so transparent that you don't need evidential proof.
Yeah. When you know.
You'll probably say no. That's what he said. He was surprised when she said yes.
Yeah. I will say at least Hailey and I could understand each other's language. If it were me, I would tell him it's like ask her out on a date first and then marriage. I don't know.
I think that the way that he went about it was very romantic.
Yeah. I mean, hey, they felt the vibe. What do they got to lose?
He thought it out, like he knew it was crazy and he said, I don't need proof to tell me what I know is true.
Yeah.
And I like that mentality of like, I don't care about how this looks to other people. I know what's right here. And he trusted his gut on it. And that was great because what we're kind of seeing is proof that they didn't know they were getting of, like, for example, like what you're talking about as how they're responding to each other in their respective languages, but they're having the same conversation.
Yeah.
And so like we're seeing that proof. They didn't see it and he didn't need to see it to know it was there.
He felt it.
Exactly.
They felt the
and
vibe.
that's what he's getting at. And then he says, I know you're probably going to say no because this is crazy. But just he's letting her know real quick what his plans are.
Yeah. Power to them. Should they be poly?
Why would they need to be poly?
Exactly. I say no.
At this point, we just don't know who they are as people. For all of these like budding romances, I don't necessarily think it needs to be commented on in terms of like, can poly solve the problems? Because that's our question is, can polyamory ease the problems or the tensions in certain dynamics? And they don't have any.
Well, I would say that if Jamie was poly, he might not have been cheated on.
Yeah, actually, that's
and he would have never met Aurelia. So I say no because I want that cute storyline to happen.
I hear that. And kind of going off my experience, one of the reasons that I kind of came to poly was a lot of infidelity in my relationships on the parts of my partner. And I was just kind of thinking like, this kind of keeps happening. And I just don't really think it needs to. But just be like, if your partner cheats, because as we talked about earlier, is that it's about boundaries being crossed, whatever those boundaries are. And that resonates within the partner crossing those lines. They can still cross lines. You can still set up a beautiful, partnership and create all these rules and respect them. And then something happens and, you've been cheated on. What's a sad... Yeah. So I think maybe what would aid Jamie in the future is noting that, and kind of create an atmosphere where that's less likely to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some of these infidelities are really hard. Like I'm in love with my best friend's wife. I slept with my boyfriend's brother. Like some of these things wouldn't be able to be navigated in like poly situations too. Some things are just a little too close to home. Well,
hey, let's get away from all these romances then. Let's go to, there's two storylines that aren't necessarily romantic. They're more platonic. So the first one I want to talk about was Billy Mack and Joe, his
They're
producer.
sweet. They're a wholesome one.
Yeah, I see them as like the comedic relief.
I can't believe he straight up called him ugly. He said he's the ugliest guy I know.
Golly.
And I was like, whoa.
And that was supposed to be sweet.
Was it?
Yeah. A pair of silly clowns, those guys. So Billy Mack is an aging rock star who's still wilding out on TV, and Joe is his stressed out producer who keeps trying to get Billy Mack to tone it down for the general audiences, and they butt head a lot, or it's not really them butting heads a lot. It's really more of just Billy Mack giving Joe a lot of grief.
And then what's the other guy's name? Joe. Just they're not butting heads. He's like banging his head against the wall watching Billy Mack live his life.
Yeah. Billy Mack with his public appearances and stressing him out and makes a lot of fat shaming comments toward him. But by the end, I think it's really sweet that Billy Mack decides to spend Christmas with him instead of partying with babes and rich rock stars and all these things. And it feels kind of that it's forced because he never had really established a family, and I'm sure he pushed away whatever family he did have because of his antics and his behavior. But in the end, we see his walls starting to come down, and it's like he spends like 3 minutes trying to say that he loves Joe, and he finally says like, I love you, platonically, even though Joe thinks it's like, oh wow, you're like gayer than Elton John or something like that now. I think Joe is happy to feel that the mental torture was sort of justified. Now he's getting some sort of recompense. I'm gonna ask the question every time: should there just be poly?
Yes.
Yeah. Why do you think that?
Oh my God! No, I'm not playing this game with you because there's no problems.
There's no problem. Billy Mack is kind of poly already. He's like doing solo poly. They're like both single male bachelors, like it's kind of always solo poly in that lifestyle.
No.
Why not?
Well, I know that you kind of equate, dating a bunch of people casually to be solo poly, but I think that if you and that other person doesn't know you're being solo poly, then you're not, And then I guess that being said, I guess you don't necessarily have to know the terms and what you're doing to practice it. But I don't know, it doesn't feel the same as like dating a bunch of people casually. You can still do that with a monogamous mindset, It's like, I feel like in that instance in particular, there's just, it's too gray to be able to classify it as solo poly.
I hear you. And maybe some people have different definitions of these same terms.
Yeah.
I'm glad they end up together at the end.
Yeah, me too.
But then it did kind of throw me off. Like he did say at the end, wait, was it platonic or was it romantic? Because he was like, let's get drunk and watch porn together. I was like, wait a minute, what? Or was that just like
I think it
joke?
was a joke.
Yeah.
Yeah,
maybe it was just a joke. All right.
Maybe they do, but it's still probably like a joke and more platonic as they're doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's go. So the other non-romantic storyline in here, it's my favorite. It's what makes this film great for me. Daniel and Sam. It's my favorite storyline. So Daniel is Sam's stepfather, played by Liam Neeson. He never had to be that crucial stepfather role in Sam's life because Joanne, the mom, always, according to him, quote, took care of that stuff, is what Daniel says. So now Daniel has to set aside his grieving and step up to the plate to take care of this child. And I mean, what a lovely relationship these two have. Think about it, like if a kid tells you like, I'm in love, you're like, oh, okay, buddy, that's cute. Like he's a kid. But Daniel takes him so seriously. He's like, all right, what's her name? What does she like? He gives him like strategies and tips on how to win her, like how to raise this girl up and get them together, and he's putting all this positive energy into this kid. And then Sam gets heartbroken because she's going to leave. She's moving back to America. And instead of being like, oh, cheer up, little guy, there's more fish in the sea. He's like, nah, let's put on Titanic and let's talk about our feelings. He's just like, he's totally a rock for this kid. I mean, talk about the most ideal support. Being a single widowed father is going to be hard, and growing up without a mom is going to be hard. But I think if these two got each other's backs, I think they'll be just fine. You have any thoughts on their relationship?
Not on their relationship in particular, but I was thinking about what it would be like to lose a partner to death. You know, that's something that I stress about a lot, you know, whenever Javi's away or, you know, I know his car is acting up, you know, I fear for him. I fear for his life and I want him to be safe. Sometimes when I get sad about those thoughts and I don't want to manifest them, I imagine him in a white light that's like he's being protected. But yeah, I think about that. And I don't know what it's like to be in that situation, but I can imagine that when you have maybe a polycule and one of your partners dies, it's kind of nice to have people romantically, sexually entwined with you that are available to support you in a way that a partner can. And that's kind of cool too about being poly in a situation like that. Like hypothetically, let's say that it wasn't death, it was a breakup. Well, I think what keeps a lot of people from moving on in their relationships is that too many eggs in one basket kind of situation. And because that's true when you have all of your hopes, dreams, and beliefs tied up into one person, you want to put everything you can in to repair any breaks in the relationship. And sometimes those breaks are just too vast to repair. And you got to let it go. You watch this basket drop and all those eggs break and you have to start over. Whereas when you're in a polyamorous connection and maybe have another partner, it doesn't really feel like you've lost everything, you know? And yeah, I think that it might feel like that when you lose a partner to death as well.
Yeah, I think about that sometimes. Like anytime Hailey goes to a long road trip or she's out on a date, my only contingency with her is that she'll text me, where are you going? Like, where's the address of where you're going?
He makes me try to check in by midnight as well. That's one of his boundaries.
Just check in with me by midnight. Let me know you're cool. And let me know if you're staying over. So that way I don't have to go out and search for you in the morning, you know, because I will search. I will dig and I'll find out what's happening, because my mind will just go crazy thinking that, oh, she met a crazy dude and he killed her or something. And now I gotta, you know, get revenge or something crazy.
Thank you for avenging me.
Yeah, no problem. But yeah, I will get into a dark place if I start thinking about life without Hailey. Oh. So I really feel for Liam Neeson's character here. And I'm sure like it makes it easier and harder to have a kid in the middle of all of this. Harder because you have to put these feelings away and be strong for this man.
Maybe not put them away, but be a rock for him as well as being that rock for yourself when it might be hard for you to do that, and you have to pretend that you're strong, and to be able to shoulder what he's dealing with, and then lean on other people, like how Liam Neeson's character leaned on his bestie, played by Emma Thompson. Yeah,
but it also might be easier because you have to focus on the work, on taking care of this child, you know, so it keeps your mind busy.
To pour into. Yeah, to pour all of you into.
Yeah, forces you to still have a reason to get up in the morning.
Yeah, I was thinking that too.
Hailey, should they just be poly?
What? I'm not answering this question.
Look, there was this one quote from Daniel that he said to Sam, there isn't just one person for us. And he said this to cheer him up, like, hey, you know, she won't be the last one, there'll be more.
I was like, wow, how poly of you.
All right, I read this through a poly lens. I was like, wow, there isn't just, quote, the one. There's a lot of ones for us. But of course, this is a monogamous society. So the film has Sam say, but she was the one, and mom was the one for you. And this notion of the one is and has always been so pervasive in society now, and since the time of Shakespeare and probably further back, agriculture or whatever. But polyamory for Daniel may make the widowing process easier, you know, because he would have exactly what you were saying, like he would have people to support him and fall back on. And it might make the parenting aspect of this easier. It takes a village, right? And for Sam, I mean, obviously he's just a kid. So there's a lot of growing up to do to run a healthy
He's really
polyamorous
smart
relationship.
for him.
He is really smart. But I noticed he got jealous when his girl was on stage singing, pointing to people. He got jealous of that, you know, like he's a child. And so he's got some maturing to do, but I don't see why there's no reason why kids couldn't be poly. I'm sure, like I'm saying, like if raised in a poly environment or a household, kids would be more likely to engage in a healthy non-monogamous relationship structure.
It's funny. I laughed really hard at that, but it's like, yeah, I mean, like if you have all of these adults being like, oh, do you have a boyfriend? Is she your girlfriend? I remember being posed with that question very, very young. And I bet you a lot of people would be really up in arms if you're like, you're trying to make my kid poly, or my kid's not not old enough to be poly. And it's like, but it's as holy as monogamy. I didn't think about that. You're right, Javi.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate the way that you're going into depth to these other relationships that I didn't give a second thought to. I think it just really shows your, I don't even know what I want to say, emotional intelligence, but I really appreciate the depth that you're taking this to.
I'm not a smart man, but I know what love is.
Oh my God, that was
so yeah, like if kids were grown in non-monogamous households, I'm sure they would probably be more inclined to grow up with less jealousy in their hearts, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think they should be poly.
Okay, yeah, I think you're right. You convinced me.
And maybe I've convinced someone out there. So the next relationship is Sarah and Carl, the two people in the office who have had a crush on each other for years, apparently, but have never said anything to each other. I really appreciate the portrayal of Sarah, who wants to pursue this romantic relationship, but can't, in part due to, it seems, her personal insecurities, but also due in part to her role as a sort of, not entirely, but as a sort of caretaker for her mentally ill brother. Her brother is in some sort of psychiatric treatment center or assisted living facility, but she is the only source of support for him because their parents have passed and there's no other family. So he calls her every day, multiple times a day, almost like every hour, every single scene. She gets a call from him.
I don't think we can get the Pope on the phone tonight.
Yeah, they get, she has to get silly to keep him okay, to keep his heart okay from having him be disturbed or whatever his triggers are. So when her and Carl finally start getting hot and heavy after making eyes at each other in the office for years, her brother, of course, ends up calling her twice and spoiling the moment. And it's just unfortunate because I'm sure many caretakers can relate to this situation, or at least this feeling that, yes, I'm happy and willing to take on this responsibility, but it is a heavy responsibility. And if you're the only one carrying the load, it's going to end up being a burden that impedes on your life, unfortunately. I really feel for them. That's a very realistic situation that I'm sure happens all the time.
Yeah, I bet.
Should they be poly?
I guess, Javi, if they were poly, then maybe Carl would have more people to date. But she would still be very overwhelmed.
Yeah. That's what I wrote. If they were poly, there may be more people to share this load of the caretaking responsibility, and they could also be getting some of their needs met by other people, either emotionally or physically.
I don't know who in a relationship would just take on the responsibility of her brother, though, because it's not like, it's like, oh, hey, my brother lives with me and he might need some one-on-one attention or something like that, or can you help me out to do this task? So I can do something else or I can get a break. It's not like that. He's calling and she goes in for visits sometimes. I don't really think anybody else could take that burden from her unless it was someone that was directly associated with her brother, which there doesn't seem to, there is nobody on that in that country because I think their parents are in America.
Yeah. They both, Sarah and Carl, seem like good-natured people, a little uncommunicative.
Yeah.
I mean, they literally don't approach each other about their crushes for years.
3 years almost.
Yeah. So they got some work to do, I guess. But yeah, I don't see why poly would hurt them.
I don't see why monogamy would hurt them either at this relationship in particular.
Yeah. It'd just be hard to have a relationship.
Yeah.
Given their situation.
Yeah.
So this is the last one that I have written down. Is Colin, the person you identify with apparently in this film.
We see eye to eye.
Yeah. So Colin and the American Girls. So I did some research on here and some people find this storyline a little misogynistic.
I could see that.
I heard misogynistic and no one really explained why. They just said that label. So I thought of it, okay, let me see this through a misogynistic lens. And I believe that it's because of the male gaze aspect that views the ladies he encounters as just mere sex objects. I get that. But if we try to look at the storyline without the lens that the film is having this male gaze through, and instead we look at it from a more empathetic POV, we may find that Colin's storyline is a sort of, at least I view it as like a classic underdog tale. So you got this sad, lonely, kind of pathetic guy who can't talk to women.
Oh, he's the worst.
He has bad lines. He doesn't know how to do banter.
He's a little creepy.
Zero riz.
Oh my God.
Nothing.
And like with the food lady, well, like one, he insulted the caterer's food right to her face, but also he like took a bite of it, told her it tasted like crap, slapped it right on the serving plate that he was serving to the guest, then wiped his hand on his white shirt, and then stuck that hand in her face to wave.
Uncomfortably close to her.
Yeah, like less than 2 inches from her face. And that was really gross.
Yeah. And given all that, he believes in himself when nobody else does.
He said, I am Colin, god of sex.
He's the god of sex, says. Just in the wrong country.
In the wrong continent.
So he plans to travel to America because, quote, American girls will dig my accent.
Was that you doing an accent?
Shh.
Oh, no.
His friend, you said his friend is Tony?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's Tony. Yep.
Tony said he's an idiot and girls will not like him because he's just a lonely, ugly asshole.
Yeah, it was kind of harsh.
Pretty harsh.
Not a good friend, IMO.
No.
Especially for what Colin brings him back. The little souvenir he brought him.
He brings back a whole American girl for him.
Oh, she's not an object? Oh, whoops.
What? Oh, right.
I thought,
right.
I thought it was like a keychain.
True. Yeah, so Colin travels to America and lo and behold, he picks up 3 girls at a bar and they all end up having group sex.
And then there was a 4th woman too, apparently.
And that's the one he brought.
The pretty
home.
one.
Yeah, he brought her home. So good for Colin,
it was so funny. I don't know if you noticed, but Harriet had a country accent. Do they have country accents in Wisconsin? I don't think so.
Wisconsin.
But she could also be from someplace else. I guess, I'm going to consider that. But she has a sister. Carla is the girl she brings to England for Tony. And Carla does not have an accent. And they are sisters. So unless they were separated for a large portion of their lives, where one of them went to private school or one of them went to go work the farm, why do they have different accents?
Well, Hailey, they didn't think about this too deeply. They were just sex objects.
Yeah, and then immediately Carla, she approaches Tony, someone she's never met before, just heard about. The first thing she does is kisses him, eyes wide open, mind you. And she's like, I heard about you. Oh, you're gorgeous. Kisses him again, this time eyes closed. And I'm just like, girl, you didn't even hug him first. What? I just thought that was super weird. It was clearly just meant to, draw some type of point about
this is
American
a film
women.
Written by a British man. It's
Was it?
Yeah.
Who?
Richard Curtis.
Oh, he wrote the film? Yeah. I thought he just directed it.
He also made The Bean.
Mr. Bean?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and Mr. Bean was in this movie too.
I think that's why.
Yeah. He was a great comedic relief.
Yeah. Hey, good for Colin. It's hard to do what you believe in, even when it's crazy and everyone doubts you. But he had a vision and he succeeded. What I wonder now is what happens afterwards, right? Him and this girl probably only have bonded over sex that they've had and maybe hasn't gone any deeper than that. I mean, they're from completely 2 different countries.
They were making up stuff about him. He would say like, praise God, Harriet's beautiful and great and all that, you know, because they were talking about the fourth girl, and they go, oh, and a Christian, you know, so they were just kind of
they're like infatuated with the idea of him.
Yeah, maybe.
And like, oh, he's exotic and all these things.
Yeah.
The novelty. I'm just going to answer the question. I'm not even going to ask.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. I think given their openness in sex, like they've literally all had group sex together, I think they could be poly.
I'm already getting the vibe that they are definitely great contestants for polyamory.
Yeah. I just don't know much about their personalities other than they're very sex driven. I really didn't get any detail of Colin or the
loving
American girls' personalities other than they have raging hormones and they want to get laid.
They're close friends. They're broke. They said that they're too poor to own PJs or different beds, and it's 4 of them sleeping in a house together. Yikes. But they managed to get to England okay. Maybe Colin was offering her a place to stay.
Maybe.
He said, you seem really crowded. You know, why don't you come with me?
Yeah. Yeah, that storyline just lacked a little bit of
substance.
Yeah.
It was a big joke.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was funny.
Not a lot of character development there, but you know, hey.
Except for Tony, who learns how to bite his tongue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Daniel and Sam were my favorite non-romantic storyline. And now the last one, my favorite romantic storyline, Jack and Judy.
John and Judy.
No. Bruh. It's definitely Jack and Judy.
I think you might be right. I have John written down though. I think you know what you're thinking of though is that when they were introduced, they didn't introduce themselves. Somebody else introduced them, and then he said Jack, Judy, Jack, and he goes, people my name is Jack, but people call me John.
Oh.
Yeah. And then she goes, oh, well, they got me right. I'm just Judy. And he goes, oh, well, just Judy. And then they start talking.
You're so right. So, John and Judy.
Yeah.
J and J. Gotcha. So, when I was younger, I had a really hard time understanding why. Why are they doing what they're doing? I was
8 years old when I was confused.
Yeah. So, I figured it out. They're lighting stand-ins for it's either a pornographic film or like a regular feature film.
I think it's a regular film because I don't think they would be as awkward as they were if it were, you know, the run-of-the-mill porn. Yeah.
But it's just, you know, it's a movie with nudity in it, and they need them to stand in so they can get the lighting and all the camera angles correct for the actual actors that are going to be in there. So they get real familiar with their bodies when they meet for the first time. And because they're so used to this being their jobs, it's not like they're super turned on or excited per se by touching each other this intimately. They're like, you know, there's like a bunch of people around and it's a set, you know, it's like a movie set. It's very not romantic.
What a job.
Fire and candlelight dinner kind of situation. It's very non-sexual.
There's all these people going around them. He's massaging her breast while dry humping the back of her pants as she's bent over, and he's talking to her about how he was in a gridlock this morning.
It's so great. Like this juxtaposition of this like nudity and this very awkward, and they're talking about the traffic this morning and the weather, you know. But that's kind of cool. You know, they have a lot of quality time with each other. They just are chatting with each other and they get to know each other, and quality time is where hearts link and grow together with people. That's quality time is where long-term relationships can really blossom from just taking that time to vibe and connect. And these two are so happy just doing that. John literally leaps into the air when he kisses Judy for the first time. He gets more excitement from that kiss than he got from getting dry humped from her naked, right? On the movie set.
That's so sweet.
Yeah. I also love the last scene. Well, one of the last scenes we see them in where they're asked, so how'd you two meet? And they just respond with and they walk away without answering. So I was thinking, these guys, they're so great together, right? They don't need to be poly. They're doing fine. They're fine just the way they are. But I was thinking there might be a little polyish if they continue the line of work they're in, or even if they didn't, they.
What happens to the next girl he dry
I
humps?
don't know. But like if they continue this line of work, like it's cool. They're fine with it. It's like actors who they're married to other actors, and those actors are like kissing or having sex scenes with other people. It's like, oh well, that's just work. That's just the way the line of work is. But even if they weren't, they seem to be a little cool or chill about sex and their bodies. And I think that kind of open-mindedness may carry over into their relationship structure a little bit, at least like in the situation, like, hey, like we both dig this person, like let's have a little, they seem really chill. And even if they're happy in their monogamous relationship structure, I could see them experimenting with some things.
I could see that too.
Some
I
non-monogamy.
actually could see that happen very naturally for them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they would be fit for polyamory or monogamy, Yeah.
And everything in between.
Yeah, they seem real happy together. Good for them. Do you have any more notes on any of these relationships?
Yeah, actually, there are 2 relationships that you didn't touch on. I think to your surprise. Daniel and Carol. And
Who's Carol?
Exactly. So this was just something I wanted to comment on, because I actually did not know who Claudia Schiffer is. Not a clue. But in the funeral scene, Daniel says at the wake, what was his partner's name who passed? Joanna. Yeah, the same as the crush of the boy has.
Yeah.
So yeah, at the wake of Joanna, he says there were a couple of things that Joanna asked me to do for her funeral. And some of them I thought it was easy for me to ignore. Like she said I needed to bring Claudia Schiffer as my date. And that got a laugh from everybody. And you see like the beaming, smiling face of his bestie in the audience. That's not Claudia Schiffer. Whoever she is, that's not her. That's his bestie. So that whoever that person is not there. So apparently Claudia Schiffer is a famous German model and actress. And it was like a joke. Carol is a mother that Daniel runs into, I think, at the airport at the very end of the movie. And Carol is played by Claudia Schiffer.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. That's really cool.
Yeah. So he meets someone who looks just like this famous German model and actress who his wife is very aware he likes.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right. What was the other one?
And the other one was just Joanna and Sam. The little children.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Starting a new relationship. Not that I want to comment on their polyamory or monogamous relationship structure, just noting, the budding relationship that you can feel even so young. That kid was so dramatic. Like, what is worse than the agonizing pain of love?
So that's my favorite quote of the film, is when Sam says, "What's worse than the total agony of love?" That's deep, man.
It is.
Oh my God.
And the way he said it too was so confident and sure of himself,
Yeah, and it takes Liam Neeson, like it takes him back.
Oh, he's you're right. The total agony.
Yeah. I think that's when he might have taken him not seriously, but as soon as he said that, he was like, "Oh man, this kid's serious." What was your favorite quote of the film?
My favorite quote is after David. Oh, that's actually one we didn't comment on at all. David and Natalie. Because the prime minister and his assistant.
Hey, shoot.
Yeah.
There's
too many relationships in this film.
There's a lot of them. All right. So let's talk about David and Natalie real quick. So I think this one is probably one of the more relatable ones for a lot of people. Like, you're in a line of work that's important, or at least important to you, or just a job, just a regular job. and you're very focused, and all of a sudden here's a new person and you find them immediately attractive, or you vibe really well with them, and you realize, oh crap, I got a crush on my coworker. That's really inconvenient. They specifically go about it in a lot healthier way than most, or I guess some work romances do. They don't make out in the closet or anything. They keep it very professional with each other. They have some cute banter back and forth, but that's it. They never get out of line. They never cross a boundary. I think he was a little out of line, professionally speaking, when he decided to go against his political decision because of his emotional attachment to her. So the American president tries to kiss Natalie inappropriately, and David sees this. And instead of going along with the decision that he agreed to with the American president to go along with the American president's political demands, he at the last minute decides to go against them because of that moment that personally happened between the three of them. And the film frames this as, hey, it's okay because
He's
rest of the
hero standing up for his country.
Yeah, it's all good. You know, the cabinet didn't want to go along with the American president anyway, so it's all Gucci. But imagine they weren't. You know, they would all be pissed off, and it would be awful. Either way, it doesn't matter. The principle still stands that he let his personal feelings get in the way of his professional ambitions. He's the prime minister. He's the president of Britain. It's very important that he makes the correct professional decision. Putting that aside, however, I think David and Natalie's romance is a sweet one. I mean, he goes and knocks on every door in the neighborhood to find her. And I mean, talk about a grand romantic gesture, you know, and he spends time with her and her family and isn't afraid to be with her. This is stupid. Even though society ridicules her weight, which, man, these 2000s films, I really despise this film calling her fat. Like,
yeah, that was dumb.
What are they even talking
She's
about?
Literally so skinny.
Why? And honestly, even if she was like a blueberry, why would that be something to ridicule?
Different time.
I don't get it. It's not.
Javi likes a dick. Well, he likes all bodies.
Yeah, it's your body. You do what you do with it. Mind your own business. Their body has no impact on your life. Mm-hmm. Next time you want to judge somebody, look in the mirror and judge yourself first. Judge your heart. But anyways,
that really bothered you.
Yeah.
They mentioned it 3 times. At the end, she runs to him at the airport and she jumps on him. He goes, "Oh, you're heavy."
Yeah. Now that was like.
And she said, "Shut your face."
Yeah.
Shut your face.
Shut your face and kiss me. Kiss me.
Yeah. So you actually said my favorite quote, and I don't think you'll be very surprised.
Oh no. That is so inconvenient.
Yeah.
That is so inconvenient. I'm glad it happened with us, though. Me and Hailey met at work. We were working together, and I heard her voice, and she saw my face, and it was all over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's cute.
And she sounds so sweet. Who is that girl? Who's that girl? Should they be poly?
Could lean one way or another. No issues at the moment.
I think they're fine.
Yeah.
I think they're chill.
They're all Gucci. They're just starting.
Yeah. It would be dope to see like a poly president or political figure.
Oh my gosh, can you imagine? It would have to overtake the nation before it was able to get into a president office, at least in a way that was people wouldn't ridicule him. You know, you get ridiculed for anything in the public eye like that.
Did we cover all the romances? Have we covered all the lines?
That's all I got. That's all I got. And now we can go on to favorite scenes.
I'm going to say my favorite scene was when Colin gets to the bar. Because the whole time I'm thinking like, this dude is making a huge mistake. And then, what? It worked? I couldn't believe it. I was shocked. Come over
here and meet this guy. He's from England.
Oh my God. He bagged 4 ladies that night.
In the first, he said, just take me to the bar. Any bar.
Yeah, he got into the taxi out of the airport. And was like, where you want to go? Any bar. Go. And it worked.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it.
The first bar.
I was so shocked.
Yeah, that's really funny. My favorite scene is the dance scene of the prime minister.
Oh, yeah. That's pretty good.
Yeah, it is pretty good. Yeah, no, it's really good. It definitely is one of the most joyous aspects for me in the whole film. And Hugh Grant and Richard Curtis had this to say. about the dance scene in an interview about its creation.
As we know, the Prime Minister was a big star who kind of enjoys his reputation for being stubborn. He's supposed to improvise a kind of victory dance, but he won't.
I think I saw it in the script and I thought, well, I'll hate doing that.
He kept saying no.
No Englishman can dance when they're sober at 8 a.m.
I think he was hoping I'd get ill or something and we'd say, oh, what a shame, we'll have to lose that dancing sequence.
But how did you get him on that day to that point?
Oh, he was grumpy. He was grumpy, but he knew it was a contractual obligation, a bit of contractual obligation acting.
And so he starts.
Yes.
And what are you thinking of it?
I'm thinking, oh, good, he's doing it. 2, that's agonizingly embarrassing.
I love that. Love the song too.
Yeah.
I mean, this whole soundtrack is a banger. Yikes.
Yeah. So yeah, that was my favorite scene.
Kind of reminded me of Tom Cruise in Risky Business. Dun 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 dun. You know, when he's sliding across the
I
floor.
haven't seen Risky Business.
Me neither, but everyone knows that scene.
Oh, I don't.
Stick the soul on the shelf. You know?
No, sir.
I have a note.
What's your note?
I have a question. Why does every rom-com have an airport or airplane scene? Why is that a trope?
Maybe because the airport represents finality in the relationship, and like maybe in the past people kind of perceived that long distance relationships were the end. You know, nowadays I think it's a lot easier to maintain a long distance relationship versus in the past it was like what cell phones are like 30 years old, right? Like it was like maybe the beginning of the 80s. So coming from those mindsets where once you leave, you're gone is probably what that stems from, especially in monogamy, where if you are in a monogamous relationship and you stick to those, you know, kind of generally recognized rules of monogamy, then that means no emotional affairs, no interactions, nothing like that. And that is often a deal breaker for people. So I think for a lot of people, once you get on that plane, it means relationship over. And that's why they run to the airport to make sure the relation, because if you get on the plane, it's done.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate, Hailey.
So I have a 92% match with this movie on Netflix. But I give this movie a 2.5.
Really?
Yeah.
2.5 out of 5 stars.
3 tops.
Why'd you come to that rating?
It was definitely enjoyable. I did really enjoy the experience, and it was lighthearted and it was fun. It's definitely rewatchable. I guess I just don't like it that much.
Okay.
You know, like when like earlier I was like, what a girl wants for me is a better movie. And I don't think most people would agree with that statement. But when I put myself in the position of enjoying the movie, I didn't enjoy this movie as much. Though I do think it has a lot of heart and it has a lot of great things to say and to share. It has a great message. Yeah, it's just not personally a movie that is my favorite.
All
yeah.
right.
But 2.5 is still pretty good out of 5 stars.
It didn't toot your own personal horn.
Yeah.
But you can still respect the craft of it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I respect classics.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm going to give this a 4 out of 5 stars.
Oh, wow. Okay. I'm noticing that this is the first movie.
This is the first movie
where we've disagreed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Different ratings,
we have totally different
opinions.
Perceptions of the characters. And yeah, we have actually disagreed on this film.
Yeah, we usually have the same exact rating and are usually in agreement, but hey, it's nice to spice things up every once in a while. We are our own individuals.
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah. I've been giving a lot of details, like analysis on little details, like specific storylines, but I'm going to say 2 things about the film as in general, as a broad statement. I think the pace of this film for me makes it all the storylines very digestible, because this is an hour and 15-minute film. And we spend just a few minutes per storyline throughout the film. Sometimes as long as a 10 and 15 minute scene just to keep things balanced. But that pace really helps out. Instead of just having like a huge long storyline and then we go to the next huge long storyline, it's boom, chop, 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 chop. And I think that makes it really palatable for a lot of audiences. One of the biggest things that lacks for me in this film is how little these stories have to do with each other.
Unless they're interconnected by some way, like, oh, this person's friends with this person, and you find out the last minute because they meet each other at the airport.
Yeah, like there's some people who are related between the storylines. Some people are family, some people are neighbors, co-workers, friends. And it works to the film's thesis that love is all around, right? So it doesn't matter that they don't have anything to do with each other's romances directly.
Like Billy Mack in particular.
Other than Billy Mack with Sam.
Like, completely disconnected.
But Billy Mack does have an impact on Sam's relationship because he allows Sam to go through.
Billy Mack has an impact on the world, you know? So yeah, he's the one. That's how he's connected.
Yeah. He's the only one that literally directly impacts the romance, because if it wasn't for him, Sam wouldn't be able to get through those guards.
Yeah, and that's just one thing. Who knows what else he did?
I'm sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter that no one's connected to these romances directly between storylines. It just, everyone is connected by love. There we go. But I just know personally that having seen films with multiple storylines, that it can be done better by having these storylines interact and merge directly. I'm thinking specifically of a film like Pulp Fiction that have characters from different storylines either killing or saving each other's lives, depending on what happened on those other storylines. This film lacks for me in a sense of comparing and despairing with other films that have done this kind of story structure more successfully. That being said, I really liked all of the story structures. And I guess there's some nostalgia that's clouding my vision.
Right, preteen.
You know, it's like...
And that gets my ass too.
Yeah. So,
if I watched this as a preteen, maybe I would have a different perspective on it.
Yeah. Just like you really vibe with Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
And
that one I think came out when I was like a preteen.
Yeah. And I watched that film older with you.
And it was like not tooting your horn.
Yeah, that's your Love Actually.
Yeah, that's funny.
And this is my Valentine's Day. Well, there we go. Let's see what Letterboxd says. I can't wait. So Letterboxd gives this an average of 3.4 out of 5.
Javi looks so cute when he reads.
Thank you. They said 5 stars. It's not even a nice necklace. The gold necklace, Alan Rickon. It looked kind of cheesy, but I mean, it's made of gold or whatever.
I didn't see it. What did it look like?
It just looked like a plastic gold heart with some like little diamonds around it.
You know, I heard something once where it said that women never buy heart-shaped jewelry for themselves. And never is strong. I'm sure that's not entirely true. But when I thought about it, when I first heard that, I think that was true for me. I'm wondering how true it is for other people.
What jewelry do women buy for themselves?
I just bought a bunch of studs recently from Five Below, and there was like 20 of them on there, and they were all themed spiritual, like third eye kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. I like quirky jewelry.
I was about to say, you got some quirky jewelry.
Yeah, like pineapples, donuts, pizza.
She's got these ones where it's like Nemo in a bag.
Yeah, but that was gifted to me.
Yeah.
But even just today, I brought her up 3 times in this conversation because we were talking briefly before the podcast today. But she bought me heart-shaped jewelry, which I just think further hammers home that point that, you know, women don't buy heart-shaped jewelry for themselves.
They buy it for other women. This person's favorite quote was, "Don't buy drugs. Become a pop star and they give you them for free."
For free.
He's talking to the kids on that one.
Yeah.
People either really love it or they really hate it. Some people think this is a really laughable film.
We're kind of agreeing in that then. Mm-hmm. Like, you love it. I don't necessarily hate it, but I don't really like it.
Yeah.
It's kind of, we're split on that. Just like they are.
Last person I'll read is Stephanie. She gives it 3 stars and she says, get yourself a guy who learns another language simply to propose to you in front of your whole town.
What am I doing? I need to go to Portugal. Oh my God.
You need to go to Portuguese and learn some Portugal.
Yeah, I am actually learning Portuguese on Duolingo.
Oui.
Sim.
Riverdurci. Hailey, what film are we watching next?
Okay. 2011.
Okay, we're getting out of the 2000s.
A little bit.
Bet.
Rated R.
Oh, let's go.
Funny, spirited, romantic comedy starring Justin Timberlake
Oh,
and Mila Kunis.
wait a minute.
Friends with benefits.
Yeah, okay, bet. Okay, I can't wait.
I'm excited for this one, and I really enjoy reviewing like rom-coms actually with you, like these lighthearted kind of films. Are really fun to dive into.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to that.
that's gonna be really cool. And I saw you seeing it. You watched it recently.
I did, yeah, and
Yeah.
I'll watch it again.
And I never watched it when it came out at all. I've literally only seen the few scenes that I saw you seeing it, and it looked interesting from the few bits that I saw.
And actually, I think it changed my life a little bit.
Wow.
I know that sounds a little silly, but I guess you'll have to find out what I mean next time.
I can't wait to get into it.
Thanks so much for tuning in. Please share, review, or comment to help us get discovered by new listeners. You can follow us on Instagram at Just Be Bali Podcast and stay updated on new episodes. I'm Hailey.
And I'm Javi.
And this has been the
Just Be Bali Podcast.
See you next time.